Before we start off with today's video, if you guys would like to join the Discord server, link will be in the description below and it will also be in that pinned comment. If it has been more than 7 days, please use the latest videos, that's one where the links will be working. And of course, I would love to have you on this channel as well, so make sure to subscribe with the bell on so you don't miss any of the videos or any of the shorts or any of the community sections, and make sure to like the videos as well, and that will all help me grow as well. But anyway, let's get right into today's video. Alright guys, welcome back. Now just quickly before, if you haven't seen the 21st birthday special where I reviewed the Subaru 22B, it's the previous video, please make sure to check that out. I really want that to get noticed and for it to get views and likes, especially considering it's my 21st birthday special. And secondly, in that video I said I was 20 when I filmed it, even though I did upload it on my 21st. But now I'm actually 21, so this is the first actual video where I'm a 21-year-old. Now anyway, this here is the Suzuki Swace. Now if you don't know what this car is, this is basically a Toyota Corolla Estate / Touring, which if you're wondering why it looks familiar, that's why, it's a rebadge. But does that actually matter? You know, in this circumstance, does having a rebadged Corolla with a Suzuki badge on it and a different name actually make much of a difference? We're gonna have a look, we're gonna see how the car fares, and yeah, let's get right into it really. Okay, so when it comes to the way the car looks on the outside, it's basically a Corolla, basically. I mean, there's not really much explanation to it. Obviously there's a slight difference, like I believe like where the fog lights are, that's slightly different, and obviously there's no Toyota badge there, it's a Suzuki badge and it's placed higher. But otherwise, you know, this Corolla, you know, it's a very good, it's not a boring car like Toyotas used to be. I mean, you know, you got very cool shaped lights for start, like here, then they go in like this, and then you got you know, you got a nice grille shape, and it's just less boring overall, and there's more angles to it, if you know what I mean. When it comes to the facelift, pretty much nothing had changed as far as I'm aware, besides the LED light design that you see in the lights. As you can see, they don't look like that, they look like this now. Otherwise I really don't see much of a difference. From the side, well, obviously we may as well just talk about it being a Corolla again, and basically it's slightly boring, but that's Toyota's part. But either way, it's not the most boring I've ever seen. You know, there are creases within it, and you know, the back's, you know, got different angles and lines to it, so it's not the worst thing I've ever seen. And the back, well, you can actually see the Suzuki badge right there, where they've just plonked it on top of the Toyota badge. Obviously you got the Suzuki and Swace badge, and you've got the same lights as the Corolla as well, which are very similar to ones at the front, I might add, which is definitely a nice feature or touch, I could say, but it's a nice design as well because the front ones are quite nice. And you know, like the Corolla Estate, it's got like the things at the side that go into the boot lid as well, the curves. When it comes to the facelift, really not much difference. I mean, the lights may have changed somewhat, I can't really tell in this image, not the shape but the actual design within them, like the front ones. And you got the silver strips at the bottom there, which look like they're about to be fake exhausts, but they didn't quite make it into fake exhaust school quite enough yet. But overall it's nice enough for what it is, and that's going for the Corolla as well, even though it's just the slightest difference. When it comes to the interior, well, the pre-facelift looked like this, and of course it's very similar, if not the same. I don't know if it's exactly the same as the Corolla Touring. So you got your infotainment screen, which is nice and high, which means you don't have to look down at it. It has got quite thick bezels around it. This is my phone knowledge person talking, but it does have, you know, buttons on the side and 2 dials as well. So it's not like it's completely blank. And then obviously you got the air vents below that, and then you got the climate control stuff where the actual, you can see the numbers there and the actual dials and knobs there as well. So they're not in the screen, thank God. Thank you Suzuki and Toyota for that. But the rest of the car is just a bit plain. I mean, look. Below the climate controls, You know, there might be like a charging pad there, I think. It looks like it. I can't actually tell properly. I didn't actually read the reviews enough for that. But it's just a bit empty, bland. Granted, the Corolla will look the same, but it does have sometimes, you know, red stitching, I think, is what I saw, and, you know, slight colour changes. And I know this is a rebadge, so they're not going to put the most effort in. Obviously, they're trying to save a bit of money for this, as you know, trying to reduce their emissions in Europe. But still, it's a bit plain. I feel like a bit more colour could have been used here. That's just what I think. And then the facelift, that got changed slightly. Ow. Every single video, I'm probably hurting myself. So the gauge cluster is a different design, and so is the infotainment screen. So the screen actually looks quite tiny in comparison to the bezels around it. I mean, that looks huge. That looks like something like an S6 or S7 Samsung sort of deal. And you have got one dial there as well. But the climate controls are still there for you to see and use the knobs for, so thank God for that. And all the buttons and all that. And yes, it's still high as well. It looks like a suede effect. I can't tell. It looks like that in the image, but I can't tell for certain. So, when it comes to the performance, the only one engine was on offer. I believe the Corolla had 2 or 3 engines you could go for. Unfortunately, this only had one, but there was 2 power outputs, but one was for the pre-facelift, one was for the facelift. So the pre-facelift got this one. Of course, these are Toyota engines and gearboxes. So 1.8 litre inline 4-cylinder hybrid with 120 horsepower and 105 pound-feet of torque. It was front-wheel drive, same as the Corolla Estate. It did weigh 1,345 kilograms, obviously because it is a big estate. Okay, it's not a big estate, but it is a estate and it's bigger than a hatchback. Gearbox is a CVT automatic. Now, if you put your foot down, then CVT will whine and it will sit near the red line. Now, to some people, that it literally means absolutely nothing to them and they won't care. To other people, it will care. Now, I am someone who does care about this, and I have been in cars with a CVT gearbox with people who put their foot down, and I can hear it, definitely. It's not something I like, but I consider it a con, but you don't have to if you don't think that it matters at all. 0 to 60 is 10.7 seconds, which is just about alright, I'd say. You know, it's not too slow. And top speed is 112 miles an hour. Now, this was the pre-facelift. However, the facelift got the same engine and all, but it was more powerful. So this time it had 138 horsepower, but the same amount of torque. Front-wheel drive again. This time it weighed 1,420 kilograms. Now, with the facelift, the trims were changed along with their names. So before it was like SZ and all that, now it's like words. I can't remember them, unfortunately. Gearbox is a CVT automatic, so like before, and it would whine if you put your foot down, but it would settle back as soon as you let off the throttle. 0 to 60 has been reduced to 9.1 seconds, which is actually a considerable amount of time. So, you know what, that's perfectly fine by me. And top speed remains the same at 112 miles an hour. Not that this car needs to have all that much power, but if you were looking for the most powerful version of the Swace, specifically not the Corolla, then this would be the one to buy, the facelifted one. When it comes to practicality, so the boot is the same as the Corolla, so 596 litres big, which is a huge amount. I do believe that the Skoda Octavia is slightly bigger, but this is still a very cavernous boot nonetheless. I mean, 600 litres, that's humongous. I mean, you could do a whole ton of that, even if it is smaller than an Octavia or Octavia, whatever the hell you want to call it. You know, it's still very good size. It's, you know, it's deep, and of course, it's a nice square, straight shape, so it's nice and wide, and you can just place stuff in there. When it comes to the back seats, the legroom was pretty well maintained for, so there was enough space for if you are tall or just with long legs. The headroom, that was not as good, however it was nothing to complain about because it was only just slightly worse than the legroom. So if you were 6 foot, you could just about fit yourself in there for a decent amount of time, and if you were taller, it might be a bit of a struggle, but it shouldn't be too bad in there for you. So overall, nice practical rear seats and a big cavernous boot. When it comes to the handling and comfort, with the comfort and the handling actually, Suzuki have decided not to mess around with it, which is good because we can talk about the Swace and the Corolla. It ironed out bumps very well. It was comfortable for all the passengers. You know, it doesn't matter if potholes, bumps, whatever. You know, it would go over it and it would be nice and smooth. Obviously not the smoothest thing in the world, because obviously, you know, Rolls Royces exist, but you get the point here. And the handling, that was actually alright as well. So steering was direct enough and it was also responsive enough. Body roll was maintained to a certain extent, obviously, because obviously it needs to be softer, the suspension, obviously for ride comfort, but it could hold its own just about. But if you did push it too hard, it might struggle slightly, so that's just something you need to be wary of. Is there anything else worth noting? Well, I've left it blank. I haven't actually put my 3 men on there. I do believe that, I don't know if it worked with both the pre-facelift and the facelift, but I think for the I can't remember which one it was slightly cheaper than the Corolla, just slightly, but then again you didn't get as much like the engines and so on. So what is the verdict? And unfortunately I have to write it tiny, and that leaves a lot of blank, because if I put it to the next size of 30, then unfortunately the pros, because the list is so long it doesn't fit there basically. So anyway, the pros are, the exterior is an alright design, the legroom was good and headroom was decent enough. It had a spacious boot and it was a reliable car. The ride was comfortable and it had decent enough handling for what it was. So the cons are the interior. Now I've put this in brackets because I'm probably the only person who thinks about it this way, that the fact that, you know, it is a little bit boring. I mean, yes, I understand it's, you know, a rebadge and they're not going to put the most effort into it, and I know I've said that lots of times, but I still think a little bit could have been done. And also the bezels on the entertainment screen are quite large. I mean, I know this isn't a phone where pretty much bezels don't exist anymore and you have a camera within the screen integrated in, like my phone, but still, that's just what I think really. The CVT whining, now like I said, when you put your foot down it'll sit near the red line. Some people will care, some people won't care. I'm part of the people who does care. Now like I said, if you don't care about a CVT whining, then that's completely fine. You don't have to include that con. And limited engines, and yes, I understand, like I said before, it is a rebadge, so not much effort is going to be put into it, not too much money as well. But I feel like, you know, there could have been another engine of sorts at least. But anyway, that does conclude today's video. If you would like me to review a car, then you can let me know in the comments below. Now, I did do a poll about if I should review the 22B, and someone said do review it, but they said review the Mark 1 TT, and, you know, a little story about it, so that is probably going to be the next car. But like I said, you know, if you want me to review a car, you can still leave it in the comments and it'll still be put in the bucket list of cars to review. Especially, it makes it easier for me, I don't have to think of cars to review. You know, you've told me what you want. But yeah, I'll see you guys in next week's video. Peace.